Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. We are into the second session of the post-lunch session on day two of Pack Impression. We have a very, very interesting topic with a very, very important gentleman from the industry. Uh, the new equations, the new normal. The last 6 months has been completely unprecedented times for almost every industry that we can think about. Right, lot of relationships, whether it's between customers and suppliers and vendors. Everything has been affected, and here we have a wonderful topic on how B2B relationship may change in this new normal. How does critical functions like marketing, customer service, management will be impacted in the physical, less physical environment? We are not being, allowed to meet, so it's literally virtual, right? To talk on this very important topic, we have a stalwart from the advertising agency, and now for almost a decade, a serial entrepreneur. He has been CEO of Starcom West for more than 10 years. And for the last 10 years, he has been in the startup space. And he himself calls himself as an entrepreneur helping other entrepreneurs build business models. He is right now incubating and as a co-founder of very exciting sales automation technology, which I have seen a sneak view of it. I'm keenly looking forward to whenever that product comes ready. Without wasting too much of time, let me introduce here Ravi Kiran. Welcome, Ravi. It is a pleasure really having you here, and the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj, and very happy to be here. Welcome everybody who's on the session this afternoon. So after that rather glowing introduction given by Pankaj, I hope I can live up to the expectations. When I think of our world today, this is really what I see. I mean, life and business before COVID was quite tough and messy anyway. And now many of us are fighting just to stay afloat under the double load of the pandemic and massive financial stress, right? It's almost like we are inside a tunnel and there is, fair amount of darkness and dinginess around us. That we will come out of this situation and out of the tunnel is a given, right? But how we will re-emerge, in what shape, is as of now quite uncertain. In fact, even after a vaccine is available to the masses and the effects of the pandemic is out of our minds, we will have to pick up the threads and start rebuilding under what looks like a fairly prolonged period of recovery. Clearly, there are no easy answers. I don't profess or claim to have one, which is why all we have to do is talk to each other and help each other navigate through these rather crazy times. Right? I've spent close to 30 years now in business, most of that in B2B selling, building these reasonable businesses. And one thing I've learned is our world is not really as linear as we think it is. So it is more like, someday up, someday down, and the world, our mood goes up and mood goes down and business is challenging and so on and so forth. But that said, I see this in today and going forward next few months in sort of three phases. When the crisis hit us back in early part of this year, and we started a sustained downturn, we didn't know how long it will take. Some of us were guessing, will it be a few months, few quarters, maybe a year and a half? But be that as it may, we are where we are. There are some green shoots now visible in terms of invention of a vaccine. And hopefully, sometime over the next 6 to 9 months, we will get to a stage that the health related issues will come down in our mind, and we'll start the process of recovering our businesses. In the 20, 30 years I've spent in 30 odd years in business now, I have learned a thing or two about B2B relationship building, marketing and selling. I've faced economic downturns, especially the one that hit us in 2008, the global recession. And while this one seems to be far worse than that one, but in 2008, that didn't look very easy either. We came out of it. Today, I'm going to share some of my thoughts on two things, right? Marketing, sales, business development, relationship building are very large topics, and obviously very difficult to cover all of that in great depth in 20, 25 minutes. So I'm going to focus on two things. From my little bit of experience, how I think customers, B2B customers especially, may behave as we go into, as we sort of deal with the COVID pandemic and go into the recovery mode of our businesses, and what we can do about it, right? And I'm going to focus mostly on the post-COVID scenario. A lot of things have happened during the last 6 months, and we have learned many new languages, many new words, phrases, jargons. I'm not going to belabor on that a lot. So here are a few things that I think may and may not happen. Despite all our fear that we experience today, I believe some of our fear is obviously justified, but some of our fear about the future is a bit overstated. For instance, I don't believe we'll have shocking changes to the way we behave, either privately or publicly, right? It is very easy when you are inside a tunnel to think that the whole world is dark and water streaming down the tunnel wall, etc. But the world is not. Outside the tunnel, the world is really quite often bright and cheerful. The new normal, or some of us call it the next normal, in my view, will look disconcertingly similar to the old normal, right? First of all, in business, as most of us know, there is nothing called normal anyway. But this new normal will not, in my view, be so unrecognizable that we'll wonder what really happened. Yes, physical interactions will come down in their number, but will they go away? I don't believe so. So they will stay. We just have to get accustomed to a different way of interacting, maybe as we'll discuss, part physically and part in other ways, right? What may happen are the following 5 things in my view. In business, as we know, all the relationships are built on a foundation of trust, and over time, trust converts to loyalty. Loyalty from a customer to a service provider, and a service provider to the customer. I believe as we go into the post-COVID era, somewhere in 2021, what is trust and what is loyalty will be redefined, and we'll find new ways of earning, retaining, and enjoying the trust and loyalty built with our customers. Customers will become very, very discerning and discriminatory, if you will, about where and how they spend their money, right? I believe under economic stress, many of them will delay their decisions and cut back on spending. Unlike what many of us may think, the answer to cutting back on spending by the customer is not dropping price. So customers will look for more than just a lower price. They'll think about who is the person or the company I can depend on, who do I feel confident about, and who do I really trust, right, in choosing my partners. Third, and this is a part of a established strategy for many large businesses, many large companies, and some of you may have customers who are large, will go for increasing market share because they say the slowdown and recession is the best time for good companies to increase their market share. When they do that, they will need partners who are supporting and whose ability is predictable, right? And last but not the least, large companies, as we have already seen, will continue to support a good number of their people. Some people have claimed that up to 70% of their staff can continue working from home. Some have said that our staff can continue working from home till 2021, 2022. But the differences may be different for different companies, but large companies, I believe, will continue to support remote working, and that will pose its own challenges in the way we build our relationship with our customers. What can we do and what should we do, right? Here are 5 or 7 top things I have learned are the best thing to do in times of recession or slowdown or economic stress. And I hope some of them will resonate with you. And I would love to learn through Q&A and other interactions, something that you may think of that I might not have. First of all, there is no time better than a slowdown and now to genuinely be customer-centric. Now, customer-centric is a word that has now become jargon. A lot of people talk about it. We have been using it for maybe 50, 60 years. But it continues to be a very, very important and foundational principle to how we build relationship with our customers. It means largely 3 things. Are we empathetic towards our customers, right? And this goes beyond lip service of dropping price when the customer needs and so on and so forth, but it's much more deep than that. Do we really understand their needs and how those needs are evolving? And do we have it in us, both in principle or in practice, to be a true partner to our customer, right? There is no one size fits all. So I'm not going to give a recipe on how to be empathetic. We all know that when we see empathy from one of our vendor partners, we can see it, right? When we feel that somebody is not empathetic to our needs, we can see that too. So this is, to me, a single biggest thing we have to learn on how do we embrace customer centricity. Second thing we have to do, and that process, I'm sure with many of you has already started, we have to digitize our whole way of thinking. It is no longer about whether I can go to social media or I can look up somebody on LinkedIn. It's much more than that. Our whole thinking has to now get digitized. And this is a great opportunity, right? Whether we are small business, large business, doesn't matter. We have to embrace digital technology and digital thinking, right? Which softwares do we use to organize our processes, to organize our life? Which apps do we use to become productive, innovative? And how do we create and publish and share digital content with our customers, right? That can make us efficient, effective, and productive. Third, in the old days, maybe pre-COVID days, and this may be the single biggest impact of the pandemic on the way we conduct business, it was okay to call a customer and say, sir, can I come and meet you? And quite often in B2B, customers like meeting salespeople, and they say, oh, sure, why not? So we'd land up and a cup of coffee or tea and then have a good discussion, right? As customers start avoiding meeting people, we have to blend our communication channels with a good mix of digital and personal. In the past, we made a phone call just to ask for a meeting. I believe going forward, we have to use that phone or video or Zoom or Google Meet or many other digital technologies and softwares to do much more than just fixing a meeting. The reason, because customers many times may not want to meet. More importantly, customers may get choosy. If earlier they met 5 salespeople for a certain product and sometimes multiple people from the same company, today that may change. And tomorrow that will certainly change. They would want to reduce the number of meetings, conduct more and more interaction digitally so that their in-person meetings are genuinely meaningful and productive to them. So to land up at a customer's building and call sometimes, as good salespeople have done in the past, saying, sir, I'm downstairs near your building. Can I just come up for a cup of coffee? I doubt customers will really like and appreciate that in future. So we have to adopt what I call blended selling, which is in-person, physical, as well as digital. This is very important. In the past, salespeople have learned how to make personal communication with customers to build relationships, wishing somebody happy birthday, sending a bouquet of flowers, sending something like a movie ticket, whatever it is that we have been trying to build relationship with customers, both at a personal level and at a business level. I believe that has to now go to scale. We can do personalizing, but we have to do it at a scale because that's something the digital medium offers us. I also believe that one of the big things that may happen is that because we have already become some sort of isolated and quarantined and all that, is that salespeople and customers, when they start avoiding each other, we may unwittingly get into something called a social recession, far worse than what we can call economic recession. That means we have to, in order to avoid social recession, we have to talk to our customers, listen to our customers, not just to say hi, bye, but to genuinely understand their needs and how the needs are evolving so that we can offer a solution to them. One of the biggest things that happen in the stress times is customers start seeing whether I need to reorganize my service partner or vendor portfolio, right? And we have to do the same. If you are a service partner to a bunch of customers, you will have to review your portfolio. Who are the customers who are worth retaining? Who are the customers who are worth letting go? Because retention is going to be probably the single biggest business survival strategy for all sorts of businesses, certainly for small and mid-sized businesses, because the cost of acquiring a new customer, if you lose one, is going to be significant. And sometimes if you lose too many customers, business can go down. So we have to review the portfolio, retain the best customers, quite often at significant cost, and rewire our own thinking at how do we significantly up our service delivery to our best customers. Lastly, just retaining is not enough. Our customers have to come to a stage that they will talk about us to their friends and to their peers. When that happens, it will be a great recognition that we have not only retained a customer, but we have converted him to an advocate. And that's what I mean by when I say that nothing is a greater measure of relationship than when a customer talks nicely behind our back, right? So those are the thoughts I want to share with you. Happy to take questions.
Excellent. Let me address some point which is very close to my heart. Yeah, okay. Ravi, will you close down the PPT so that we are more visible? Yes, great. Wonderful session. Feel like I'm back into my old school sales days. Yeah, some of the basics always remains constant, but there were some very, very critical points that you talk about, and I like that two terminologies. One was that social isolation, right? What did you use the word? Social isolation, social recession, social recession. Yes, that's yeah, I think we're already a victim of that, to be honest. I have been quarantined literally within 400 meters of my house for last 6 months. Yeah, that's something which is that's definitely that needs to be taken care of. But let me come back to that point later. I'm talking about another one which is very, very relevant for this particular session. questions have started to come. This is point is you touched upon what is called large scale personalization, socialized or personalized to a large extent. I would like to pick your brain because you are majority part of your career. You are an admin, right? Although you are now a salesman, right? That's what you like to call as yourself. But I would like to pick your brains on one thing which I believe yesterday I also talked upon, and which is it did not happen in India. India has had the precedence of several phases of a particular industry not coming into India and moving from one generation to the next generation without going to the intervening generation. I can talk about few things like from the mobile phone is a classical example. You have from digital analog exchange directly to mobile without going through the intermediate things. Another industry which I was part of it was we never saw electric typewriter in India. You had manual typewriter for a very short period, electronic typewriter, and you straight away went into word processing, right? Okay. When you look into communication in India, one huge industry which was a major industry driving digital printing, direct mail never happened in India, right? Direct mail or coupon business. So it moved from maybe some sort of direct mail without really getting into what is called the neighborhood catalog business, which is so popular in US and Europe. India just bypassed that. It went into Groupon kind of stuff straight away. And I believe right now, if you send a handwritten letter or even a direct mail, simple mail instead of an email to a customer, it will be a pleasant surprise. It will be like cutting the clutter and going through, reaching something like that. I want to pick your brain as to, do you think some of these means would come back, or do you advocate that to sales and business development people to enhance their relationship with their customers or prospects?
So I think it's a great thought. How do we mix what we now know as online and digital, yes, to what sometimes derogatorily people call offline and physical? To me, if I have to be a salesperson, I can't be judgmental about either or. Both have their respective advantages. There are some customers who may prefer a certain mode of communication, a certain language, and I have to adapt myself to what will work for the customer. I have seen from some of my consulting clients' experiences that a lot of people, not just in India, in Europe as well, who are more used to the physical paper-based mail of the past, still prefer physical brochures and leaflets and other communication. And I know millennials, people who are 30, 32 years old, who probably did not see as much paper communication as we did, quite comfortable with reading things off the screen and not needing the pen and paper. I have also seen young people between 25, 30 years, so they're not old by any standard, preferring to write things down on a piece of paper as opposed to typing onto a mobile phone. So the way I would see that, I don't want to generalize as to whether we should do digital only or physical only, email only or paper only, but I do recognize that a lot of our communication today happens super fast because of the digital channels, whether it is WhatsApp or WeChat or SMS or mail, or now, in social channels like Facebook and LinkedIn, etc. So as a salesperson, I need to be mindful of what will work for my customer and commit myself only to that, and nothing that is, sort of reflection of my view of the world. Having said that, if I have a choice of using paper versus non-paper, obvious reasons I'll use non-paper because it does something for our environment as well. But if it will work for the customer, I will go paper as well. So
Excellent. Very good. There's a question here coming in. Interesting question. Sales are now driven by the purchase and finance team. It's cost driven, it's closely monitored by them, which removes creativity. What's your take on this? Ravi, are you there? Hello? Akash?
purchase and finance manager.
Ravi, you were not disconnected. You got locked for about 10 seconds.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what I was saying is that in my 20 years of advertising career, first 10 to 12 years, I did not have to deal with a single purchase manager. And last 8 years, I dealt with probably more purchase managers than CEOs. But let me tell you, so I have no problem at all. I don't believe purchase have anything but the best interest of themselves.
Ravi, there was a lot of lag.
Can you hear me now?
Now, yes. You said last.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you said last 8 years with purchase, and you don't have any problems, and then we lost you.
So what I was saying that I believe purchase managers have exactly same interest in their heart as we have, which is the best interest of the company.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe for most businesses, the CEO or the owner of the business is the best purchase manager.
Mm-hmm.
If we deal with business owners in convincing a purchase manager as well, to balance quality and price. If they go only for price,
Yes, this yes.
I left the switch machine.
Ravi, there's a lot of drag on your internet.
No? Can you hear me, Pankaj?
Okay, Ravi, you may have to log out and log in.
Yeah, I heard him.
Yeah.
You can do that.
So give us there's a technical challenges that we always have to live with. Ravi is having an issue with his internet connection. Thankfully, we should get it corrected. He's logging in back. In the meanwhile, if you have any questions, Ravi is a really an amazing person to talk. I've met him several times, discussing business. And I think he can give you great insights into how to manage difficult times like this when it becomes a challenge to meet with customers or prospects. So that's what he touched upon. Very, very nice few points. Many of them maybe you are already doing it, but some of the points which he discussed were quite thought-provoking. While we wait for Ravi to join in, let me check the questions. Okay.
Is better?
Yeah, better. You touched upon a point which is where you said that the strategy or the techniques that a salesperson has to be now multifaceted. He has to use different kind of mediums to be in touch with his client. But nothing, basically, I mean, in a B2B business, I believe nothing can substitute.
Sorry,
Hello, can you hear me?
I can't hear you now.
Akash, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hello?
little broken, but I can hear. Please carry on.
Okay. No, what I was trying to say that you advocated that the salesperson needs to adopt different kind of methods to be in touch with his customers and prospects. But we all know that in the B2B business, nothing can replace the face-to-face meeting, especially in high relationship business or high value transaction or long-term relationships. How do you see that, in your own business, is this, that when there is so much of restriction in meeting physically, have you seen the negative impact of not being able to meet with customers? Or do you think customers have started getting used to it?
So first of all, that's a great question. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, it's a great question, Pankaj. First of all, I believe that the statement that nothing can replace a physical interaction is a bit overstated.
Okay.
Right? As we have learned in last 3 to 6 months, we have already replaced good part of our physical interaction with other modes. Does it mean that we need to completely replace physical interactions? No. What it means is we need to be smart about why we are meeting somebody and what we need to achieve when we meet that somebody, especially in a world where travel is restricted or can be expensive. Customers may have their own security and safety concerns. We need to respect that. So the way I look at it is, if as a sales guy, I had to meet a customer face to face 5 times to achieve something, I could say, okay, can I now meet 2 times instead of 5? And can I achieve more before meeting him so that my meetings are more productive and more meaningful? So to me, it's not about either or. It's about recognizing that the physical meeting has a purpose and the digital outreach also has its own purpose.
Very well said. I completely agree on that. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult thing not to be able to meet customers, but yes, we are getting used to that right now. A very good question, which is related to this: how to change the methods to train teams internally in order to close a deal through virtual means.
Again, it's a great question. I think a lot of salespeople are used to selling in the physical world. We are probably using the virtual meetings today as a stopgap. But the good thing is stopgap is already teaching us how to communicate with somebody through our non-physical means. Great salespeople have always sold things on the phone, right? Now we have to see how do we combine email and phone and WhatsApp to not maybe close a sale, but take the customer in the journey, in the buying journey, from one stage to another, right? Depending on the complexity of the product, we may still need to sell physically. And I think especially if our sales teams are millennials, young people, they are already very comfortable with technology. We just have to create the right mindset and obviously training in body language, training in tone of voice, training in how to share something on the screen rather than across the table. The good thing is that technologies to do that already exist. In fact, the product that you mentioned before that I am designing now
In fact, I was
is
about to ask,
specifically meant to help salespeople sell to customers. Sorry?
in fact, I was about to ask it. Why don't you give us a sneak view into what you're planning to do? I know a little bit about it, but it'll be great to hear.
No,
from
well, it's still under design, so it's a little premature for me to say too much about it, but suffice it to say that it is specifically designed to help salespeople help their customers buy in a world where physical interactions are going to be at a premium. That means it's a blended selling app residing on your phone that will help you, communicate with customers and help them across the buying journey without necessarily having to meet.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to that whenever it comes. I've been talking to you, to Sanjay, and he has been asking, said, okay, let's get to discuss. Thank you very much, Ravi. It was great to hear your thoughts on how this crazy times has affected business of various sizes, and to get your thoughts. And it was wonderful. Thank you for taking time out and presenting this. And I'm sure with the kind of questions which came, it created a lot of excitement amongst the people. And I'm glad that you could spend some time. Thank you very much, and hope to see you. I do not know when, but sometime soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.